walk you guys and girls through this entire session. I know you guys and girls do not like seeing dynamic warm-ups. They're not sexy on YouTube, on Instagram, but as I always say, they're very, very important to make sure you're warm and ready for the session. You're ready to go to perform your best, steer clear of injury, you're activated in the mind and the body, and you're ready to perform your best. As I always say, we're out here to get better. The reason you're out here training as an individual, or even with your team, is you're looking to adapt. The way we adapt is progressively increasing intensity over time. And the way you do that is when you're warm and you're ready to go, you start to do things at a better pace, more intensely, more at a game pace. Your technique is sharper, it's more consistent, and you're gonna get better as a result. So without further ado, please do a nice 10 to 15 minute dynamic warm-up before any individual and especially before any team training session. Because of the constant stopping, starting, cutting, it's obviously very easy to get injured as a footballer. So we want to prevent that. We're out here to improve our performance, but what's the point of improving our performance if we're injured, if we're not playing for our team, if we're not getting better? So please take care of that. If you're interested in a full dynamic warm-up, I will have a link in the description to a full dynamic warm-up, so you don't have to watch it in a fast-paced manner. You could literally just follow along. But as you see here, the keys for me is getting the heart rate up, getting the blood flow and the oxygen to the muscles and the tissues that I'm working, really working on ranges of motion in the joints that I'm going to be working in the session, in the muscles that I'm going to be working in the session. So as you see here, getting into the hips, getting into the groins, getting into the hamstrings, getting into the upper body. I want my whole entire body to be ready to go. As you see here, a little bit of an A march, skipping motion, really good for the tendons, gets me ready for the session, can also improve your speed when done well, done powerfully, and done consistently with a good intensity. As you see here, a little bit of a long skip, really just trying to be playful through the session. Some knee hugs, getting into the hip flexors, into the hips. Obviously, with some shooting, a lot of passing during the center midfielder session. I'm going to be getting into those hips and groins, so I want to make sure they're ready. And then here, I'm slowing this down for you. This is some glute activation, some glute band walks. If you don't have a band, you could simply do glute bridges, one leg, two leg, or you could literally do the same exact movement. You're not going to have as much resistance, but move slowly, move coordinated with the arms. Here we're walking forward and then we're going to walk backwards. As you see here, as one leg goes forward, the other arm goes forward. We're trying to move like athletes. We're trying to move like footballers. So slight bend in the knees, nice neutral back, core is locked in, and we're really trying to engage and activate the hip flexors and the glutes to get ready for the session. And then as you see here, getting into a bit of more of a dynamic stretch, specifically working on the hips here, working on the groins as well as the T-spine. So as you see here, a little bit of a same exact thing, but we're just opening up the chest, opening up the T-spine, getting ourselves ready for the session. And then here, I love this one, a little bit of a child's pose to a groiner, working on the upper back, the lats, as well as the groin, really getting ready. And then we get into the session. So the first thing we get into are some outside circles, 5 to 10 reps each foot. This is something that I really love to do to work on the control of the ball in a short space. This is something that you will do as a midfielder, as a center midfielder, if you're trying to get out of pressure. Obviously, moving into some inside circles, 5 to 10 reps each foot. Really trying to focus on quality the entire time. Lots of touches in a small space. As I said here, really great thing to do to get out of pressure in a game. And then we move into some sole circles. Same exact thing, using the sole part of the foot near the ball of the foot to kind of spin in a circle and get out of that space quickly. So as you see here, we would spin in a circle and try to accelerate out of that space. And here I'm just really trying to get warm for the session. And then the last activation, last warm-up thing I'm doing are some diagonal leg swings. I want you to make sure that you're on the ball of your feet for this one. And as you see here, you're trying to swing your leg. If your hips are not so mobile, if your groin is not so mobile, don't go as high as I am, but just try it out. As you see here, then we're moving on to some side-on two-touch. Really, really love this one. If you guys and girls don't have a wall, use two partners or use one partner, and all you're looking to do is switch feet every time. This really gets you warm, activated, and ready for the session. Works on your touch, works on the opening of your hips, and then we naturally move into one touch. As you see here, as always, you're going to have to work and see the weight of the ball. So depending on the wall you're working on is how that ball is going to come back to you. You're always going to have to be the judge of hitting that ball at the correct weight, which helps you a lot in a game. Then we're moving into some inside open up the hips. As I always say, we are not going to advance until we're ready. So we start with no look, we're working on technique, and then we progress into look. As I always say, the last thing that you want to do is progress into more intensity, more speed, more complexity without having the technique down, without having the quality of the exercise down. The last thing you want to do is train bad technique at speed, because then that's going to ingrain into your body and your nervous system, and you do not want that. So as you see here, working on an inside the foot touch spin turn. As you see, we're going to need to touch the ball with the inside part of the foot near the big toe region to kind of get a spin with the ball. So we're trying to spin that ball around the standing leg. And as I said before, we're not looking in the beginning. Now we move on to left foot. And we're not looking because this is a complex turn. This is a complex touch. I want to make sure that I have this turn down in my locker, in my kit, in my bag, before I start to go to more complexity. And honestly, it's one of the biggest mistakes I see. You probably see a lot of this stuff on Instagram with the looks and with the colors and with the numbers, but basics, mastering the basics and being consistent with the basics is the most important thing as a midfielder, as a footballer. You have to start with the basics, and then you get more complex and you start to master those basics. So as you see here, same exact thing as I'm playing the ball. As soon as that ball touches that wall, as soon as the ball releases from my foot, I'm checking over my left shoulder to make sure that I could turn in that direction, which is obviously going to be game realistic. This is something you're either going to get the ball from your left center back, your right center back, one of your outside backs, or even one of your wingers. And it's an excellent turn to turn out of a tight pressure situation. So we're moving into some more really game realistic work here. As you see, I'm playing the ball off the wall, and like I said, you can use a partner for this exercise. This is basically working on the first phase of play. So if you're a number 6 and there's either a goal kick, your goalie has the ball, he's putting it down, and you're getting in between the center backs, this is an excellent way to work on that one-touch pass out of pressure. So basically, if you're number 6, you're in between, you're either getting the ball from the goalie, you're getting the ball from the other center back, and you're just trying to break that line of pressure, break the line of the forwards. What you're doing is you're getting that ball, and you're quickly playing a one-touch ball with the right foot we're working on here to the other center back or to the other outside back to break that pressure. So there's a man on your back, you obviously can't turn, and the only thing you could do is play a one-touch pass to the other center back or the other outside back to break that line, and you're trying to go forward as quickly as possible. So, as you saw, I worked on the right foot first, then naturally you got to work on the left foot, and the way to simulate this is you simulate the same exact thing in a game. I'm trying to look over the shoulder, trying to be aware as possible, really trying to focus on a proper first touch ball out of pressure, and as you see, sometimes the ball is going to pop up, sometimes the ball is going to come at me in a weird weight, in a weird angle, and you're just trying to use your technique to the best of your ability to get out of that situation. Because in a match, it's not predictable. You're not always going to get a perfect ball on the ground. So you're going to have to be able to adapt to that ball, and no matter what, you're going to have to try to play that ball out of pressure to the other center back or to the other outside back. And it goes without saying, this is an exercise that you need to work on, especially if you're a center midfielder and your team likes to play football, your team likes to play out of the back. You're not going to be doing this much if your team tries to play long balls, but it's also an excellent way just to work on some one-touch passing in a proper direction with the correct angles, obviously while looking over the shoulder and being aware the entire time. So we're then moving into another game realistic situation. I wanted to simulate that wall as an outside back, a winger, or your other center midfielder who's going to play the ball in a parallel way, basically a square ball. You're taking a touch with your left foot, and then you're trying to clip that ball over the top, over the lines, into your number 9, your number 10, or you're even trying to clip that ball over the back 4, and you're trying to get forward as quickly as possible. So trying to simulate it, as I said before, you're not always going to get a perfect pass, so you have to adapt. The key here is really getting under the ball. So same exact thing. Now we're trying to play through the lines on the ground, and basically what I'm trying to do is curl that ball around the camera into the goal behind the camera on the ground, which is going to simulate a ball through the lines. And then we're working on a one where we're playing a right foot higher curl, where this is also behind the back 4 and can also be into your number 9 and 10. And unfortunately, this is the last one because the camera got knocked and I could not keep on going. So please, if you plan on doing this session, make sure you do the same amount of reps on the left foot as you did on the right.